사실은
welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a monthly reset, and it's been a while since I've done one of these, so we definitely need to do a little bit of catching up, refreshing our memories on our goals, and you know, just talking about life in general. I think the last time that I did one of these was back in February, so first I really wanted to do a catch up, and then second I wanted to talk about my yearly goals because there's just a little bit of updating that I need to do on that. I'll also be talking about the books that I read in the past few months because I do like to talk about that. And then lastly, I did do a quick Q&A, so I'm gonna do that at the end of this video. This time I'm going to leave some timestamps for all of that stuff, so if you want to skip to a part that you want to watch, then go ahead and do that. But if you're new here, hello, my name is Janelle. I am 30 years old and I'm an engineer down here in SoCal. I really love to talk about life in your 30s and what that involves. Usually is goal setting, mental health, friendships, relationships, all of that kind of stuff. I also really love making vlogs, so if that's something that you're interested in, then definitely consider subscribing. I am anticipating that this video is gonna be a long and chatty video, so definitely grab a cup of coffee. I have my iced coffee. This is my second cup of coffee actually. So grab a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you're drinking right now, and let's get started on catching up. Okay, so let's first address the elephant in the room, which is my Brazil trip, which I know it probably came out of nowhere because I hadn't said anything leading up to that trip. Really, it's because of a personal privacy issue. I had meant to mention that I was going to Brazil in my March reset, which as you all know, I didn't end up filming. And in fact, leading up to my Brazil trip, I didn't have time to make any vlogs at all because of my new job. I had started it in February and I was just adjusting to my new job and just didn't make any time for my YouTube channel. My job and my mental health were my main priority at this point. So unfortunately, YouTube had to be put on a back burner, but at the same time, I didn't let anyone know that I was planning to go on my trip to Brazil. We had booked these tickets back in November and we left in March, on March 15th. And leading up to that, I just did not have time to make a March reset. So that kind of sucked because it's just out of nowhere I went to Brazil, but there was not really anything I can do about that. And then when I went on my Brazil trip, I thought this is a really great opportunity to get back into YouTube because I would have all this extra free time while I was on my trip to edit my videos and stuff. And so that's why I decided to film my pack and prep with me. So yeah, that's how that all ended up happening. Brazil was really nice. I think I did a really good job of filming and editing those videos, and I'm so happy with the way that they turned out. I do kind of get a little chatty and long-winded, especially when it comes to my voiceovers and stuff. I want to give as much detail as possible when it comes to doing these trips because it's not only for everyone else to understand the context of everything, but it's also for me when I look back and watch it to know exactly what happened during my trip. So that's why I made those voiceovers super detailed. And then on the Sao Paulo one, I was getting kind of tired of hearing the sound of my own voice, so I decided not to do a voiceover on that one. So let me know which vlog you liked the best. I did 3 vlogs in Brazil. One in my boyfriend's hometown where he grew up. The second one is in the town where he was born, but he didn't grow up there, but a lot of his family still lives there. And then the last vlog was completely in Sao Paulo. So let me know which one of those is your favorite one if you watched all of them. And if you haven't watched all of them, I highly suggest that you watch them. So yeah, that was my Brazil trip. We had planned this for a while. I had meant to tell you all about it before I went, but I didn't get the chance to, unfortunately. And also I went in the negative on my PTO, sadly. So I will be back to 0 on my PTO hours in October, which sucks, but what can you do? And speaking of which, I definitely need to catch you all up on my job. My job has been going pretty well so far. Whenever I'm working, I don't know, I feel so satisfied in my job because I'm literally just coding all day and nobody really bothers me, which is awesome. For some people, they wouldn't like that, but for me, like, I love that all I do is just like code and I try to solve problems. I make new features, I fix bugs, like that's all I do all day. I love that I can take breaks whenever I want. I like the people that I work with. I love that I can choose my hours as long as I'm working from about 9 to 3 p.m. By the way, I work a 980 schedule, which means that I work 9 hours a day, but I get every other Friday off. And the Fridays that I do work, it's like 8 hours. So it ends up adding up to 80 hours in a 2-week period. And this is where kind of the problem happens. I don't mind the schedule at all. I actually really like the schedule because I get every other Friday off. The only problem with the 980 schedule is that you actually have to work the 9 hours. So I'm working 9 hours and my commute is 40 minutes. So 40 minutes in the morning and ideally 40 minutes in the afternoon without traffic. But what ends up happening is I leave like during rush hour, or like the rush hour is like really long where I work at. So my commute in the afternoon has been 1 hour and 15 minutes, sometimes 1 hour and 30 minutes, or like at its worst, it's like 1 hour and 45 minutes. So an extra 30 minutes to an hour of my commute was really killing me in the first few months of starting this job, which is part of the reason why I haven't been able to make any YouTube videos. But like I said, I'm lucky enough that I can choose my hours and my supervisors don't mind at all if I'm like, hey, I need to change my schedule because this isn't working out for me. So what I was starting off with was a 7 to 4 schedule, and that was getting a lot of traffic. So I thought, okay, let me do 6:30 to 3:30 p.m. schedule. Maybe if I leave a little earlier, it'll be less traffic. But I had a few problems with the schedule. So I had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to make it to work at 6:30 a.m. And then afterwards, when I would leave for work at around 3:30 p.m., I would hit traffic, and then I would get home at like 4:30, 5 p.m., sometimes 5:15 p.m. And that was really not working out for me, especially since I had to go to sleep at 8:30 p.m. and get ready for bed at 7:30 p.m. Like that's not enough time for me to like relax or do anything, honestly. Like it's literally like go to work, come home, and then go to sleep. Like that's it. So I changed my schedule now. I had the bright idea, or at least my brother had this bright idea because he started working before I did. He had this bright idea to go to the gym after work to try and wait out the traffic. And I thought, maybe I can do the same thing, especially since I can choose my hours. And then I thought, okay, so what's the time around where the traffic dies down? And that was 6 p.m. So now I work from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and then I go to the gym. 5 p.m. is when I really start working out, and then by 6 p.m. I'm pretty much done with my workout and I leave and go home with like barely any traffic. And now my sleep schedule is from 9:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m., which is a much more reasonable time to sleep. So that's my long-winded thing of like how stuff at work is going. Literally the commute was the only thing that was killing me. I really liked my job and I really did not want to leave it. And I also didn't want to move either because I really like where I live and I don't want to move and I don't want to lose my job. So this is what I came up with and so far it's working out. I've done a week of this so far and I love it. I love not having traffic, and I also go to the gym in the afternoon, which like I just feel good about myself. And yeah, like I'm just really happy right now. We'll see in like a month. Let's check in a month from now, and yeah, hopefully this ends up working out. Next thing that I wanted to catch you all up on is my car. So as you all know, I actually did make a vlog on buying my car and everything, but I didn't end up posting that because I just didn't have time to edit it. I really want to know if you all want to see that vlog, but long story short, I had to get a car for my job, obviously. Like I'm driving 40 minutes back and forth every single day. So I ended up buying myself a car, and I know it seems really weird that all of this stuff is happening. Like once I got my job, I literally went on a trip to Brazil and I also bought a car and everything. But seriously, we have been planning this trip to Brazil since November, so we already had like the budget for it. And then this car that I just bought, I literally only spent like $5,000 on it. And anyway, I asked my mom for the money for my car, so shout out to her because yeah, I have the amazing privilege of having a mom that can help me out. I still have to pay her back, but you know, I don't have to pay any interest or anything like that. But yeah, I just bought a really cheap car. It just happened to be something that I really, really like, but it is a pretty cheap car in today's standards. So yeah, that's a car update. I really love my car. It's running great. I drive it so much and it's still running really good. I plan to take care of it and literally drive it until it has 300,000 miles on it. And if you want to see the vlog, please let me know. I still have all of the footage for that, so I can edit it if you want me to, but if nobody's gonna watch it, then I'm not gonna edit it, because I know not everyone's into cars, but I just like to give car buying advice because I love cars. Okay, next let's talk about my goals, because it's been a while since I've talked about them, literally since the February reset. I actually do not plan on having any monthly goals, but I do still plan to continue working on my yearly goals, even if like I don't have any like measurable monthly goals. Does that make sense? So first, let's talk about the theme, because I just want to keep reminding myself of this theme throughout the year. Right now is a better time than ever to remind myself of this theme, especially since I haven't had time to do any of my hobbies. But my theme for 2024 was to manifest my dream life while building confidence, kindness, and acceptance of myself. I think that the fact that I went through all this trouble to get a better schedule at work really shows that I prioritize myself and that I prioritize my health and my mental health. I'm trying to be a lot more kind to myself this year, and I think that this is a really great example of that. Not only am I prioritizing my mental health by waiting out the traffic, but I'm also prioritizing my physical health by going to the gym. Anyways, let's talk about my yearly goals, and let's talk about the ones that I have checked off, because I feel like that's the most exciting part about this video. Like, I'm actually achieving some of my goals, even though I haven't had time to talk to you all about it, but we're talking about it now, so let's get the ball rolling on this. So the first thing that I checked off on my yearly goals was improve confidence in coding. I originally had this goal because I was really not feeling confident in applying for jobs, and that all kind of stemmed from not having confidence in coding. So I thought that having this goal would not only help me to get a job, but also like just improve my confidence in general. But I didn't realize that once I actually got a job that my confidence in coding would actually improve. Right now, I feel like I don't know, I just feel like I'm a professional. I literally am a professional because I'm getting paid to code. Every time that I make a new feature or I fix a bug or something, I just feel so good about myself. I have this like, I don't know, I think it's a computer science thing, because there's always all these memes about like having a superiority complex or something. But I guess like I would attribute the feeling to a feeling of accomplishment. At least a few times a week, there will be times where I get stuck on something. It's like honestly like a puzzle. And then once I solve that puzzle, it's like, I know, you just feel good about yourself. So my confidence in coding has like improved exponentially, I would say, because of all the stuff that I do at work. Next goal that I was able to check off is buy a car, obviously. And then the next goal that I was able to check off was make a new friend. And this one's actually a really weird and honestly like crazy story. Long story short, somebody in my apartment complex left their book on the floor. Like, they dropped their book in the parking lot, and I found the book. It was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, and I had just recently read this book. I'm literally in the middle of the series right now, and somebody just like dropped their book on the floor. And so I actually picked up the book. I had already read it, so I didn't need to like take this book at all, but I took the book just in case like somebody might take it and keep it for themselves. And I left a note there saying like, hey, I found your book. Just text me what the name of the book is so that I know that it's you. And then if you're looking for a bookish friend or anything, I would love to be your friend and hang out sometime. And then the person that left their book ended up texting me and saying, hey, I think I'm the one that left my book. It's Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. We ended up hanging out, and yeah, we have a lot in common. So I did end up making a new friend. We're not close yet, but we'll see what happens. I'm very excited to see where this goes, because literally we have so much in common. Also, isn't that crazy? Like, that is so weird and random. Like, of all the books that could have been left on the ground, it was Throne of Glass, a series that I'm literally in the middle of right now, and crazy. I don't know. It's just like, I feel like I'm really good at manifesting things, honestly. Whether or not you believe in manifesting, like somehow all of these things keep happening to me without me really trying. I guess I'm just like a really lucky person. The next goal that I was able to check off was travel to a foreign country. And I kind of cheated on this one because in making these 2024 goals, I had already known that I was gonna go on a trip to Brazil, which I didn't tell you all about until I actually went, which is really sad. But yeah, I kind of cheated on that one. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with writing goals that you know that you're gonna achieve, because honestly, like, the fact that we went to a foreign country is not just like us booking the trip. It involves so many different things that it's not just like, you know, oh, I know I'm gonna go on a trip, so I'm gonna check this off, you know? Like, it's way more than just like going to the country. It's about planning it, budgeting for it, like all this different stuff. So yeah, that was kind of a cheat one. I apologize for that, but good reminder to everyone that you can do this stuff. Who makes the rules? Only you. So do that for yourself. And that was all that I was able to check off. Looking through all of these yearly goals, I think that I'm still gonna keep all of them. I've still been making progress on a bunch of these. Actually, let me go over some of the ones that I've made progress on, because I do want to give an update on a bunch of these, and let's just go down the line of which ones that I wanted to update you on. So the first one that I wanted to update you on was learn Portuguese. If you see my Brazil vlogs, you'll know that I didn't learn enough Portuguese to have conversations with my partner's family and his friends, which is very unfortunate because I was left out of the conversation most of the time, and I really do not want to feel that way ever again. So I have actually become even more excited to learn Portuguese ever since coming back. So I downloaded Babbel. I have unlimited access to all languages, in fact. It's not just Portuguese, but for now, I really have been trying to work on this. So far, I think it's way better than Duolingo, but you do have to pay for it, which kind of sucks. But I think I'm doing pretty well on it. I'm learning a lot of things. So I'm still in the beginner phase of this Babbel membership or whatever. We'll see how this goes. I'm gonna try and stick with the schedule. I have it so that I am conversational in 3 to 6 months. We'll see if that actually ends up working out. But I do want to have more resources for myself than just Babbel. I really want to take advantage of italki. I was doing that with French for a little while. So I think I want to do an italki lesson like at least once a month and see how that goes. But that's the update on Portuguese. Next thing that I wanted to update you on was starting a fitness habit. I really haven't been to the gym since I started my job. The first time that I went back into the gym was literally this past Monday when I actually signed up for a gym membership and started going after work. So I feel like I will be able to check this goal off soon, especially since I'm kind of forced to go to the gym instead of sitting and waiting in traffic. Like, the alternative of going to the gym is like much more appealing than sitting in traffic. So I feel like I will be able to check this off pretty soon. The next thing that I wanted to give an update on is have a morning routine. Since I have a job now, since I have somewhere to be, I have no choice but to have a morning routine. So I think I will be able to check this off soon. And then the last thing that I wanted to update you all on is declutter the entire apartment. This is a goal that I actually did start doing before our trip to Brazil. I think if you saw my prep and pack with me, there were a few things that I had listed on Facebook Marketplace, and I ended up getting rid of some stuff. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough stuff. I still have a very cluttered apartment. It's like extremely overwhelming, and this is a goal that I had for the second quarter, which we are currently in right now. We're in the middle of it right now. So hopefully sometime soon I will make time for this goal, but as of right now, it's very minimal how far I've gotten on this one. And I think that's it for all of the goals that I wanted to update you all on. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of goals that I have been working on, but for the goals, at least for the first quarter of the year, since I do have these separated into the first quarter, I have been working on those pretty well. The second quarter goals, you know, I did talk about them a little bit, but I haven't been super proactive with those because of my new job and everything. And once I'm like really settled into my new schedule, I think that I really do need to sit down and think about which goals I want to keep and which goals that I want to get rid of, because looking at my goals right now, like I can see that there are some goals that I had made with good intentions, but that I just really cannot, you know, I don't think that I can make time for those anymore, especially with the new schedule that I have. So that's the update on my goals. Unfortunately, I don't have any like monthly goals or any like goals that are more actionable, I guess. I usually have these for my monthly resets, but for this month, I just want to like, you know, maintain what I have right now and get really adjusted into my work schedule, because then I can really focus on what I can achieve in the next month, not this month, but in the next month. Okay, next let's get into the books that I read for the past few months, because, you know, I love to talk about books, and we're just gonna do a quick speed run on these books because it's quite a lot. It's been a while, so it's quite a lot. So I read 11 books in the past few months, and the first book that I read, this was back in February, was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is a new release. It's about a vampire and a werewolf who are forced to get married together to form an alliance between their two clans or whatever. But yeah, they're enemies to lovers, and for context, I'm obsessed with vampires. I don't know if you all know this, but I will read anything about vampires. There's a lot that I still haven't read yet, but I've read like so many vampire books. I just love vampire stories. I wasn't a huge fan of this one, I'm gonna be honest, but then again, I normally am not a huge fan of contemporary romance novels, which I know that Ali Hazelwood has famously written The Love Hypothesis. So I kind of went into it with low expectations, but I don't know, it just didn't hit for me. Like I just wasn't a huge fan of it. So I ended up rating this at 2.5 stars. I am so bad at talking about books. I just feel like I'm stumbling over my words constantly. But anyway, the next book that I read was Nightbane by Alex Astor. This is not a book that I would recommend. I read it because I just have fun reading books that aren't that good, which I know sounds really weird, but it's just something that my friend and I do sometimes. And I ended up rating this a 2 stars. It's really bad. Not only is it worse than the first book, which is called Lightlark, it like doesn't really make sense. So don't recommend this one. The next book that I read was An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. S.T. Gibson famously wrote A Dowry of Blood, which is one of my favorite vampire novels of all time. And this was another vampire retelling of Carmilla, which is also one of my favorite vampire stories ever. Like, ugh, I cannot handle how much I love A Dowry of Blood and Carmilla. Those two being my, God, I just cannot talk right now. But I ended up rating this a 5 star. Next book that I read was The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I've been seeing a lot of people going down the Frida McFadden rabbit hole. Like, you read one book and then you just can't stop after that. You just gotta keep reading more and more of Frida McFadden books. That's kind of what happened to me. So the first one that I read was The Teacher. This is one of those books that you like kind of fly through because you want to know what happens next. The only thing that I didn't really like about this book was the audiobook narrator, because I listened to this audiobook and the audiobook narrator does not know how to pronounce designer brands. And the main character, she has like this shoe obsession, so she buys designer shoes and she's constantly talking about that. But the audiobook narrator kept pronouncing it as like Louis Vuitton, and like, what else did she say? She said, I'm pretty sure she said Givenchy instead of Givenchy. So I was like, that's so weird that like the audiobook narrator didn't look up how to pronounce these designer brands when the main character was literally like obsessed with designer shoes. Anyway, I rated this a 4 stars. I think it was pretty good. Like, it's kind of disgusting, but it's good. The next book that I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. Honestly, pretty solid start to the entire series. I know that every book talk girly is like reading these books right now. Well, they're reading the ACOTAR books and then they get sucked into the Sarah J Maas universe and just start reading Throne of Glass after reading ACOTAR and stuff. Throne of Glass, I think it was good, but it wasn't like 5-star good, but I think pretty solid start to this series. And then after that, I read Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar. This is one of the children from Such and Such Kids and Counting, because they're always popping out more and more babies, but it's like that reality TV show where they're like this Christian couple that just keep having babies. They had like 19 the last time I saw it, I think. And this is like one of the eldest children that's like coming out with this memoir. I didn't end up rating this memoir because it's weird to rate people's experiences and stuff. I used to in the past, but I think now I'm just like not gonna rate books like this unless they really moved me. If they didn't, I'm just not gonna rate it. But this one I didn't rate because I feel like there's still a long way to go. That's all I'm gonna say about that, because yeah, I think it's just a touchy subject when it comes to the stuff that is being talked about in this book. This person just still, like, I think they have a long way to go before they even had to write a book, but it was okay. Next book that I read, like I said, I'm in the Freida McFadden rabbit hole right now, or I was back then, but Never Lie was the next book that I read. I rated this a 4-star. This one's pretty good. I thought the twist was kind of weird, but I was still eating this book up, you know, like flying through it. Next book that I read was The Perfect Son. This was another book that I flew through, but unfortunately, I was just like kind of over it at this point, I think. I was starting to see a pattern in Freida McFadden's books where she's gonna like throw out a twist in the end where it's like somebody that you shouldn't expect, but at the same time, it ends up being this person. So I kind of expected who it was gonna be at the end, like given the pattern of the twist of people that she adds in at the end. I don't know if that makes sense, but I kind of like saw a pattern in her books and like I expected who it was. So I rated this what did I rate it? 3 stars. The next book that I read was Pride and Prejudice, and this was my 3rd time reading this book. I am obsessed with this book. I am giggling, kicking my feet up, listening to this book because I listened to it on audiobook. I think it's hilarious. If you ever get the chance to read this book, listen to it on audiobook because the intonation of like everything that's happening is much more funny when you listen to it on audiobook. Like the way that it is intended to be read is like, I don't know, it just makes it so much better. And then the next book that I read was Crown of Midnight, which is the 2nd book in the Throne of Glass series. I love this book. It really got me sucked into this series. Like if the first one didn't do it, the second one 100% got me sucked in. So I ended up rating this also a 4-star, but honestly, I feel like it's slightly better than Throne of Glass. Like Throne of Glass is like, okay, here is the main character that you're gonna see for the entire series. Here are her strengths and weaknesses. Here is the love interest or love interests. Like here is exactly what's going on in the country. So that's the first book. Second book is, I feel like it's setting us up for the rest of the series, and obviously I haven't read the rest of the series yet, so I don't actually know, but there is still like a lot of world building in this book. And yeah, the first book kind of did that. Like there is like some stuff that is talked about in the first book, but the second book really gives like a lot more detail into the whole world that they live in and gives more of a backstory to the main character. And honestly, like really got me sucked in at this point. I did guess at the twist at the end, but that didn't take away from how crazy of a twist it is, you know? Like I think it's still wild that, you know, that is the case, which I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but yeah, like if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, 4 stars for that one. And then the last book that I've read, which honestly, this was kind of a while back, so I haven't finished a book in a while, but the last book that I read was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've actually read this book. This was my 2nd time reading this book, and the first time that I read this book was on my Kindle, and this time I actually listened to it on audiobook. And when I read it on my Kindle, I was like, this is my favorite book ever. Like, it has been my favorite book for the longest time, and I really wanted to confirm that it is still my favorite book, because I did end up reading Pride and Prejudice 3 times by this point. So I'm like, okay, I've only read Jane Eyre once, but I claim that that is my favorite book when I've actually read Pride and Prejudice 3 times. So I read it again, honestly, back and forth with whether or not this is still my favorite book, especially since I read Pride and Prejudice again. But the writing is so beautiful in this book, and like, it's so me, because I feel like the gothic style of this book, the creepiness of it, the fact that Jane wants to be like an independent person, but she still wants to be loved by somebody and have a family and all of that, like, it's just so relatable to me personally that I'm just like obsessed with this book. I just love it so much. But it is a long book, which is why I'm never really inclined to pick it back up again, because it's so long in comparison to Pride and Prejudice, which is not that short, but it's like a normal sized book, if I'm gonna say that. So yeah, this and Pride and Prejudice. I don't remember if I gave a rating to Pride and Prejudice, but obviously 5 stars for both of those. And that is all of the books that I've read so far in the past few months. Currently, if you want to know what I'm reading right now, I am in the middle of Assassin's Blade. This is the prequel to the Throne of Glass series, so I'm kind of like jumping back and forth between books, and I hear that there is a tandem read, like, which is really crazy because 2 of the books happen at the same time, and you gotta read this chapter and then this chapter in another book and whatever. But I'm currently on Assassin's Blade right now. I'm reading according to the order of Sarah J Maas. Like, she has a FAQ on her website where it says like, what's your preferred reading order of Throne of Glass, because apparently people read this in different orders, and she has her preferred reading order, and so I'm going by that. And I think I might tandem read the books. I don't even know which books they are, but my new friend that I just made has a list of the tandem reading chapters that I could read, which I'm getting really into it right now. But yeah, that is all the books that I read in the past few months since February. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about my Q&A, which I posted on both my Instagram story and my community tab here on YouTube. I don't think anyone actually asked me anything on my community tab, unfortunately. Let me check. No, nobody asked me anything on my community tab, which sucks, but I got 2 very amazing questions on my Instagram story, and I will share them with you. They are really great questions, actually. So the first question that I got was, how has having an ADHD/autism diagnosis changed the way you view yourself/behaviors/choices? I appreciate this question so much because it's not only is a great question, but it brings up into the conversation having ADHD or being neurodivergent. And I want to be clear, I haven't had a formal diagnosis of autism, but I have taken the RADS-R test, which is a self-assessment tool that has been proven in studies to be accurate. And I did score high enough on the RADS-R to have autism, to have it, which is why I normally say that I am neurodivergent instead of just saying that I have ADHD or that I just have autism, because I have not had a formal diagnosis for autism, but I have had a formal diagnosis of ADHD, and that was something that I was like pretty much like 99.9% sure that I had ADHD, because there were just some things that I could not explain other than having ADHD. In this question where you asked me, how has having these diagnoses change the way that I view myself and my choices and my behaviors? Honestly, the simple answer to this question is that I've been a lot more kind to myself. Before the question of ADHD ever like came into my mind, I would always be like not understanding why I couldn't do stuff. I would get yelled at work, and like they would be like, why can't you get this stuff done? And I would be like, I don't know, like there is something wrong with me. Like I hate the way that I am right now. And same thing in relationships, like people would ask me like, why can't you just pay attention? You're obviously not interested in what I'm saying because you're not paying attention to me. And I just like couldn't explain myself. It's like, I don't know why I can't pay attention. maybe I don't care. And so now that I know that I have ADHD and that I literally cannot control when I'm paying attention to someone or when I zone out or something, like, I understand that it's not my fault, and I'm definitely a lot kinder to myself now that I know that I have ADHD. The alternative to not getting my diagnosis or not understanding that I had ADHD was that I had a lot of self-loathing. I was really depressed from not being able to do anything or not being able to move forward in life, and comparing myself to other people and not understanding why I wasn't performing at the same level as everybody else. But now that I do have this diagnosis, I'm a lot kinder to myself in that I'm like, okay, well, I may not be at the same level as everybody else. Maybe I cannot do the same things as everybody else, but that's okay because that's the way that I am. Now I understand that that's the way that I am, and now I can figure out workarounds for it instead of just like trying to do what everybody else is doing and not understanding why it's not working for me. I honestly don't know if any of this makes sense, but the way that I frame my thoughts now is like way better than I was doing it before, because now I understand that it's literally not my fault if I like do some of these things, if I forget something, if I, you know, like don't accomplish everything that I intend to do. Like, it's fine because I'm literally not built to live in a regular society. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just whatever. I've known about a few studies about ADHD in women and girls and how a lot of comorbidities exist with people with ADHD, especially women, because they have to hold themselves to a higher standard, and because they literally cannot hold themselves to that standard, there's like just a lot of like depression and anxiety that comes along with that. And I'm very lucky that I don't have that, because I've just been very lucky throughout my life that I have help and that I have a lot of people who are very supportive in my life, and that's amazing. But yeah, that was a very long-winded way of saying that I'm a lot kinder to myself now that I have this diagnosis, and I understand myself a lot better. I can find workarounds for things that I cannot control. Next question is, what is something new you've learned about yourself in the last year? It really did not take me long to think of an answer to this question, and the answer is that I learned that I can literally do anything. As I mentioned in the previous question, I am neurodivergent, which comes with a lot of its own roadblocks. And in the past year, there have been a lot of times where I really just felt like giving up. In fact, throughout my whole life, there have been a lot of times where I've just like given up on things. And this past year has been no exception at all. I really did want to give up. I wanted to give up on looking for a job. I wanted to give up on YouTube. I wanted to give up on, I don't know, like just a lot of things. And this is not anything new to me, but I learned in this year that even if I continue to fail, if I fail 100 times, if I try and get up the 101st time that I fail, that could be the one time that I could succeed. Like, if you really think about it, in a year, you could post one video a week. That adds up to about 52 videos a year. I could post every single week consistently in the next year. That is 52 chances for one of my videos to go viral. And even if one video flops, there's always a chance in the next video that that one is gonna go viral. So you just have to keep trying until something happens in YouTube, which is exactly what happened to me. A lot of people came from my 2024 goals video where I announced my new Notion page, and I got a lot of really encouraging comments in that video saying like, this Notion template is the most in-depth Notion template that I've ever seen. I can tell that you put in all of this work to make this Notion template. And I even got comments 2 months later saying this Notion template literally changed my life. And it just goes to show that if you put in the hard work to do something, like you can literally do it. Like, this is gonna sound so cliche, but you have so many chances to do things in life. I am 30 years old. I started this channel when I was 29 years old. I had previously given up on 2 channels before this, and for some reason I thought, like, why not start a third one? Third time's a charm to start a new channel. And what do you know, like all of this experience and hard work that I put into my YouTube channels previously leading up to this one, and every single YouTube video that I put out, I have been trying to get better and better little by little every single video that I put out. And once that video hit, it was like a no-brainer. Like, it was literally like, I kind of expected that to happen. I mean, I didn't expect it to get that many views, but I expected people to really like it. So as cliche as it sounds, what I learned about myself is that like I can literally do anything as long as I put in the work and effort to do the best that I can on them. I've been saying this for the past few videos, or no, I think I've been saying it from the beginning of my channel, is that like I just try my best and whatever happens happens. But I have been trying my best, and whatever's been happening has been really good for me so far. So I really don't intend on giving up on this channel, even though I am a lot more busy than I was when I started this channel. But I plan to continue making videos for this channel and helping people, which is what is the point of me continuing to make videos. A part of it too is like me making memories for myself, like for my Brazil vlog and everything, but most of it is like helping people and having this as a hobby that I enjoy. So yeah, even though I only got 2 questions on my Q&A, I really appreciate those questions. I know I was like super long-winded with them because they were the only 2 questions that I got, so I could afford to be long-winded with them. But if you have any more questions that you wanted to ask, if you didn't get the chance to ask a question, like maybe you forgot or something, feel free to ask me a question in the comments. I would really love to answer them, and honestly, I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody who watches my videos. I see that you're watching. You don't have to say anything. I just know that there are some viewers out there that are super dedicated to watching my videos, and I really appreciate that. I love you all. I'm so happy to have this channel, and it makes me sad that I cannot put in the time and effort into it, but I will figure things out soon. And in the meantime, go check out my Instagram. I post way more on there. Well, I post on my stories mostly, but yeah, whenever I do come out with some pictures or a carousel or anything, you'll be up to date on that and up to date on my daily life on my Instagram. So yeah, check that out. And I really appreciated catching up with you all. This was a super chatty vlog, but if you're still here to the end, I really appreciate that. That's so amazing that you watched till the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.